Constantine, a Hellblazer podcast.
Hey there, everybody. Before we get into the issue, I just wanted to let you guys know that this is the free version of the podcast. And all that means is that this is far behind where I'm at in the Patreon version. So if you're liking this and you need more John Constantine, you can't get enough, be sure to go over to patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books, all one word, and sign up for the Hellblazer tier, which gives you access to the entire Hellblazer library that I've done so far, and a new Hellblazer podcast every week. And you'll also get the exclusives from our main Planes, Trains, and Comic Books podcast. So if any of that interests you, definitely check out our Patreon at patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books, all one word. And with that, let's get into the issue. Today, we are reading number 13. And just a little catch up. The last one we read, number 12, was the wrap up of the whole what happened in Newcastle storyline with Constantine. So we got like a nice, concise, complete story about what happened to him back in the past and why he is the way he is. So first things first, we got the cover here. It looks kind of peaceful, actually. It's Constantine looking out over some water, and then he's smoking and stuff like usual. But we see that there's some sort of maybe a power plant or something in the distance, but then there's some other ominous things, like there's like a dead seagull carcass. So it's weird. It looks peaceful, but it's not. And this issue is basically Constantine goes on vacation. So I don't know where this place is, like what the name of it is, but apparently it's a beach town in England where he used to go as a kid with his whole family on vacations. And he's kind of thinking on that while he goes and buys an ice cream from a local vendor on the wharf. And he just kind of looks around and he's like, man, the seaside used to be magic when I was a kid. And the ice creams used to be bigger too, because now he's an adult and he's already finished it. And then it shows him as a child, and we see like what he did with his family. And we see him and his sister playing, and like his dad kind of being like, oh, Jesus, hurry up, kids. And then he goes and walks on the beach. Now, the way he is dressed is not beach clothes. He is in his full, like, Constantine, not suit. He's got his pants on for sure, and just like a white dress shirt underneath his trench coat. So he's got a trench coat on. And he's also got these weird, gaudy, like gigantic sunglasses that look ridiculous on him. So I appreciate that. It looks very funny. And then while he's walking on the beach, we kind of see in the distance that there is some sort of power station in the background, and he's just kind of looking at the beach, talking about what he used to do. He remembers stepping on glass and stuff when it was all littered on the beach and whatnot. But now as he walks, he sees there's like a pipe, like a dumping pipe or something on there. And there's some sort of march coming towards him, and turns out there is a nuclear power plant across the way, and there is a large group of people protesting it on the beach. So as they walk by him, he kind of gets like a nihilistic thought process going on, like, I saved the world from hell and everything, but they're still going to destroy it with their nuclear power plants and poison the water and all that stuff. So he gets a bit nihilistic, and then he's like, you know what, I'm just going to chill here. I'm going to sit in the sea air and breathe, and maybe my complexion will clear up, because he still has some of the scarring from when he was taken over by Nergal. So he's kind of relaxing now and looking up at the birds and stuff flying around. There's a bunch of seagulls, and he's watching this mother play with her two children. And then all of a sudden he hears a noise, and he's like, what's that? And these fighter jets just come flying right over his head over the beach. And of course, that just brings back his negative thoughts that he was having before. And he says, amazing how we can't afford to keep the planet clean, but we can afford toys for the boys, meaning the military. So as he's thinking on that, he sees like two people coming over, and he's like, damn, someone's coming. But sometimes if you close your eyes and keep still, you can still be invisible. You know, ostriches know this. So he's like just hoping they won't notice him. And they don't, pretty much. He's just sitting in the rocks. And then we hear them talking, and turns out this is a boyfriend and girlfriend couple, and the guy who's named Tony works at the power station that's across the way, and he's talking about like, cancer, it's overblown. You can't really get cancer too bad. I've been exposed over the max a dozen times, and I'm not dead yet, am I? And he's just like, oh, okay. And so she's like finding this like weirdly attractive, I guess, because she's like, oh, you mean you're radioactive? And then she makes a comment about his dick not glowing in the dark, so we know he's okay. And Constantine, he's just sitting here like 5 feet away. They don't see him. And he's thinking to himself, Jesus, we're all doomed, aren't we? The entire species is flying off to hell for its holidays. Somebody stop the world. I'm scared and I want to get off. So then all of a sudden, kind of out of nowhere, the power plant just explodes and all these birds and seagulls start falling out of the sky. And it's super weird what happens, but basically everybody that was on the beach stands up and just kind of looks at it. As the seagulls all begin to fall from the air, they're just staring at the bright explosion and all this debris is falling from the sky and no one's freaking out except one guy. One guy's freaking out, but he's not freaking out because, oh my God, we're all going to die or something. He's freaking out because he's like, I have to get back to work because he works at the plant too. He's like, my new boots will be burned and they cost me 40 quid. So he's worried about the 40 quid boots, not the potential dying. So then we see a kid playing with a dead seagull and the mom comes over and says, Christopher, come put on your coat. The sun's gone and it's cold now. And then the kid sees Constantine and he's like, hey, mister, look, you're missing it. It's snowing seagulls. And then, more seagulls fall. But weirdly, a lot of the seagulls are already decomposed to skeletons while they're on the beach. So that's kind of weird. And then Constantine tells the kid, yeah, that's what happens in a nuclear winter, kid. Like he's giving him advice. And then some lady walks over to him very nonchalantly. He's like, hey, mister, can I have a cigarette? And at first Constantine's like, yes. But then he's like, no, I need them all. I won't be able to get any more, will I? And then she gets mad at him. And I guess this is the lady that had the boyfriend that ran off to get his boots because she says, when my boyfriend comes back, he's going to kick you. And then Constantine laughs and is like, he won't get near me. I'll see him coming, won't I? He'll be glowing in the dark. And then that lady runs away mad. And then another lady walks up. It's the lady that had her 2 kids running on the beach with her. And she asks Constantine, please, do you think my husband will be coming for us soon? And Constantine's like, I don't have a clue. And she's like, but my children are allergic to feathers. They're coming out in a rash. And then Constantine's like, all right, don't worry. I'll see if I can find him. So he goes off to look around the beach. And it seems like the beach has gotten very piled on with dead birds and feathers and nuclear fallout, I guess, maybe ash or something, because it's just kind of big sand dunes that he's crawling over and stuff. So he doesn't find the husband, so he returns back to the lady, but he looks like his pants are falling apart, like they're all ragged and everything, his coat's all torn. So it looks like he's been through something, or at least things are decomposing pretty fast here. When he comes back, he says, I'm sorry, I couldn't find him. And the mom just kind of like, oh, no problem. It doesn't matter anyway. Come on, children. And then John asks, what are you going to do? And she says, I've come to a decision. The only chance we have for survival is the evolution of the species. I'm taking my children back to the sea. I'm going to make them grow gills. And she takes her kids and they're all they're getting spots and flesh coming off of them and stuff. And she just walks them into the ocean as she was saying that stuff. So I guess that they can grow gills. And then John kind of turns his head and he sees a girl and he just says, well, that's a girl and me, and we're the last ones left alive now. And then he looks down and sees his reflection in the water, and he's like, uh-oh. And his thought narration says, reflected in the foul water, I watch my body slowly die around me. We're running out of time. There's something I should do. Grow up, Peter Pan. Get a girlfriend. So as part of that, I guess, he reaches into the water to get some sort of food to bring to the girl that was there. And he pulls out this thing that looks like it's straight out of Alien. It's got all these, it's like a starfish, but if the starfish had alien face hugger fingers. So they got big knuckles on them and stuff. It's really gross and weird looking. And also Constantine's face is slowly getting those sores and his skin's rotting off and stuff. So he takes that starfish and he goes across the beach to go talk to the last woman on Earth. And as he gets closer to her, he sees that she's made a sand house basically on the beach. And this woman, I guess, is the girlfriend of the guy who had the boots that he was running for. So he sees her and he says, she sits waiting for the shining boyfriend to come home across the sea. She's built a house to welcome him, but there is only me, a ragged man, a pimply, nervous youth, approaching in hesitant seduction, bearing a Greek gift of twisted flesh, forbidden fruit. The negotiations are brief, but we have no choice but to agree. So basically, he shows her his weird alien starfish that he brought for meat, and he's like, I brought these for you. They're fish fingers, and they begin to eat together, and then it's they're going through a really, really fast courtship where they're eating together and it looks like they're on a date. And then it shows them dancing together and they're like stumbling around and stuff. And like under their feet are just their crushing bird bones and stuff like that. And then her body is also beginning to rot as his is too. He's losing his hair and they just look really, really gross. There's all these lesions all over their faces and everything and their whole bodies. And he narrates, "Together we are a fragile tangling of sick flesh and bone, each clinging as if the other were a raft made of flotsam to keep us from the rising tide. There is an emptiness of bruising, sobbing flesh, a body, softness wetly smothering a calcium crumbling of teeth." And it's really, really creepy because they're kissing, and when he says like the calcium crumbling of teeth, you're just imagining their bodies falling apart, and while they're kissing, their like teeth are literally like crumbling into dust in their mouth, and it's super creepy. So as they kiss, Constantine is talking about how even with all this stuff going on and their bodies rotting, he still has like an urge to have sex and stuff. So he says, "I am Adam, urging this compliant Eve to take our need and make it life." And apparently they do, because on the next page, he is nervously waiting to find out if she's pregnant. And she is, and he then sits there for months, he says. And as she's sitting there, her body begins to decay. And he says she's fading faster, feeding the hope for the future that her wasting body grows. Her belly swelling under the slow heat of fascination as our experiment ferments within. Evolution is our species' only hope. So he goes over to her and he kind of puts his head on her stomach and he's like, "Will it be all right? How does it feel?" And she's like, "Touch it and see. Sometimes it moves and you can feel its heads." And Constantine's like, "Heads? It's got two heads." So then she begins to give birth. And Constantine is, he's the only person there, so he's helping give her birth. And he narrates, "I fish deep in that familiar pool of mystery, expectant fingers finding the vibrant thrill of heartbeat that will carry on our rhythms. I draw it out, kicking into this poisoned world. Her life comes with it." So the woman dies as she gives birth, and Constantine removes the baby. And then we see a panel of what the baby looks like, and it's a two-headed white seal, which is weird, I'll say. And Constantine narrates, "Horror, beauty, wonder, twitching in my fearful hands. I gather it, nurture it, protect my child, but I am weak, and it is heavy and strong." And it like flops out of his arms and just kind of starts making for the water, and he's like chasing after it. And then he kind of sees it making it to the water, and he's like, "Yes, you can do it." But then he sees the skeleton seagulls flying overhead, and he's like, "Oh no," because they look pretty mean and hungry. So he starts swinging his arms at them, saying, "Get away, you bastards, don't hurt him." But the birds do murder the seal baby with two heads, and Constantine looks all sad, and he's like, "He's my only child, the last chance for immortality, and they've eaten him." And he freaks out, and he's like, "No." And then the birds turn on him, and he narrates, "Alone, utterly alone, driven by impotent, useless rage, into cold, rattling, ripping, tearing terror. Too late now, a century too late to put things right. New waves are breaking, and when the tide turns, the birds feed where the sea and sand collide, picking the flesh from dead, corrupted things, reducing to clean bone that life which fails the course. I'm the last one on the beach. The sun's gone in now. It's getting cold. I should be home in bed. No words can ever express how bad it feels to lose the human race, collapsing slowly into extinction." So as he's talking, the birds are slowly eating him, and then they pick his flesh off of his bones until he's just a skeleton kind of walking into the water, and then he falls and collapses as his skeleton kind of falls apart into the waves. And then, he wakes up. And he hears the seagulls. He's like, "Oh, what?" And then he's like, "Oh, Christ, I don't believe it." And he narrates, "Constantine, me old mate, you've got to do something about these nightmares, or sooner or later they're going to kill you," as he lights up a cigarette, which I thought was great. So that is the end of the issue. If you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can email me at planestrains and comic books, all one word, at gmail.com. And we will see you on the next one.